of you. Welcome back to the programme. Lily, what does that look like to you?
It looks like an assault on people's human rights. It is a very, very strange way to exercise humanitarian sort of rights using tear gas on children. It needs to be remembered, I think, as Angela has just said, that of the people in the camp, over 400 of them are children and over 300 of them are unaccompanied children. Now, that is, by anyone's standards, a very strange way to be humanitarian. It's a disgrace.
Douglas?
Well, first of all, not everybody has had as pleasant an experience at the Calais camp as your previous correspondent there. There have been numerous incidents of violence elsewhere. A recent attempt by a theatre group to put on a production of Shakespeare was halted when somebody in the audience pulled a knife. Just the other day, we all read about Jude Law and various other actors going to Calais to call for Britain to take in basically all of the people there. And what was less reported was that his own film crew was mugged after finishing filming by people at the camp. So not everybody has had quite such a rosy experience as the one that was relayed to your listeners earlier. The point here is twofold. First of all, there are movements across North Africa, across sub-Saharan Africa, and across the Middle East of millions of people trying to get into Europe. These people cannot be allowed into Europe in their totality because Europe cannot cope with such an influx of people. But the second element to it, which is very important, is do we, as it were, encourage people to make such a journey by saying that people like those in the camp at Calais who have broken into Europe, broken through European countries, they have not stopped at their first country of entry and claimed asylum. They have not done that. They have moved throughout Europe because they think, whether rightly or wrongly, that Britain's benefit system, among other things, will be better for them than France's. They have moved through Europe, and to give those people a residence in the UK means that you reward people who have not followed the rules, and all that will do is to mean that millions and millions of people more come to this country, and we will not be able to allow them in. So it is encouraging a humanitarian catastrophe to take this very emotive, short-termist approach.
It's the right thing to do, though it looks painful when we watch it on television, Lily. It's the right thing to do, says Douglas, because there's a bigger picture here.
It's not the right thing to do, and it's not a solution to the problem. All that's going to happen is in Calais is that the people they have moved will move to other parts of Calais and set up camp there.
Is that not better for the people involved, that they would be removed to heated accommodation where they've got fresh water and proper supplies and resources, rather than what they have in this squalid situation right now?
I think it's indicative of how they feel about not getting sent back to where they came from, etc., when they're willing to come and they're willing actually to face squalor and all of those things. And I think we're not factoring that in. What needs to happen is the French and the British government need to have a process. They need to grant actually sort of processes for the asylum seekers in sort of France, and they need to grant visas to those people in Calais who've got relatives in Britain. Now, it's no point saying that we're doing all we can, because we're not. And it's no point...
The British and French governments do have a process in place. The people at the camp in Calais are people who have got around that process, who have tried to break the system and ignore the system. And that undoubtedly, I think you'd agree, makes things difficult for the French government and the French police and Britain and Britain's border security. People who break the rules should in general not be rewarded for doing so.
Why would we talk in terms of reward and punishment? Are we saying then that the attempts actually in the riot police and the moving of the huts was a punishment for people who broke the rules?
They are removing uninhabited huts and tents, we understand.
Yeah, but the people in some of those, I think probably about 300 of them, have moved into other huts within that encampment. Not the solution, Douglas. It is not the solution.
I think you'll find among other problems here, and why I'm sure many of your listeners are less sympathetic to these people who've broken into Europe than some of the refugee campaigning groups and those who favour mass migration, is that there are also, and it's worth remembering this, French people, citizens of the French Republic, who live in Calais, who have seen their area very much destroyed by this flow of thousands of people who are illegally in their country, illegally in Europe, and are trying to break the rules. And now the question is, do we encourage millions of more people to also break the rules and come in, or do we try to hold our borders, hold to the system, hold to our system, which, among other things, has perfect provision for asylum seekers who are legitimate asylum seekers to come in? Or do we do this very foolish, short-termist and emotive thing simply to satisfy our own short-term emotional spasms of rewarding people who should not be there and allowing them to be rewarded for breaking into Europe?
Lily, Liam has a problem with your position. He's texted in. He says, I'm trying to understand this. How is it an attack on human rights to help people leave squalid conditions for other conditions? Why is that an attack on their human rights?
The attack on human rights is when you use tear gas on women and children. That's the attack on human rights. If it was really and genuinely a humanitarian sort of approach to this, to move people, to get them into a system, etc., we wouldn't send in riot police.
Why do you think those people do not want to go to those conditions?
Because clearly some of them want to come to Britain, and clearly some of them want to go to other places.
Does that mean that they want to escape the processes, the system that is in place presently, to bypass that in order to enter the UK?
I am not sure, actually. I have to be honest. I haven't been there and I haven't seen it. But I would have to say that if people are willing to live in those conditions, then they are clearly desperate. And it could be argued. Sorry, Douglas, just let me finish. It could be argued legitimately that Britain, France and sort of other parts of Europe and America actually illegally bombed and created some of those situations and now are refusing to give the proper help that's needed.
Let me respond to that, because that's a commonly heard claim, but it's also wrong. The massive flow of peoples into Europe, which the German Chancellor Angela Merkel in particular encouraged in the last year, actually, Syrians do not present, and Iraqis do not present the majority of those migrants. They come from a very wide range of places across, as I said, sub-Saharan Africa, North Africa, the Middle East, as far east as Bangladesh and elsewhere. And these people are coming because the idea has been given out, the invitation indeed has been given out by the German Chancellor and other very misguided European leaders, that the doors of Europe are open and that anybody who wishes to come in can come in. Now, I do not for a moment doubt that among the people coming are many people who are legitimate refugees and are seeking asylum. Those people must go through the system that Europe's borders already have and claim asylum in their country of first point of entry, which is what the Dublin Treaty on Asylum ordinates for them to do. Now, the problem is that most of the people who are coming into Europe, and even the Vice Commissioner of the European Commission, Franz Timmermans, said the other week, at least in his estimate, at least 60% of the people who are already in Europe should not be here. At least 60% of the people who came in the last year alone should not be here. The people who are at Calais are people who have broken into Europe, and I repeat, did not ask for asylum in their first country of entry, moved through, and they are at Calais, not because some of them want to come into Britain, but because all of them want to come into Britain, because they believe, and as I say, correctly or otherwise, that Britain is more munificent in its benefits to migrants than other countries. So this is a very big question, which is not only about 5,000 people currently in Calais, but about millions and millions of people across several continents who would like to come here and who we cannot have come in.
I need to give a final word to Lily Kerr on this. We've got a problem here. Everybody's agreed we have got a migration crisis.
We have got a major
problem. The question is, what should we do
created
about it?
By Europe.
If not this, what would you do?
We need we need to address it. We need to create the facilities, and we need to stop the war. We need to stop actually funding bombs and sort of wars, and that could indeed take some time. But it is not acceptable, and it is not a humanitarian response to say they have no right to be here, so we offer them no help.
Lily Kerr, thank you very much. Thanks to Douglas Murray.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.